Many students don't take mock exams seriously, but the reality is it often determines their predicted grades and even influence their final performance. In this video, I'm going to show you how to prepare for your mocks the smart way without the cramming, the burnout, or last minute panic, so you walk into your exams confident, ready, and fully prepared for top grades. Now, as a science teacher and tutor, I've helped hundreds of students raise their GCSE grades, and it often starts with how they approach their mocks. Success in mocks isn't about working harder, it's about starting earlier and planning smarter. And that's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. So let's jump right into step one on how to prepare for your mocks for top grades. Now, when it comes to mock exams, many students have the wrong mindset. They revise for their exams a week before, and by then it's often far too late. So what you need to do is you need to start early and be consistent. And by that, I mean adopt a little and often approach. So 15 to 20 minutes revision on a subject a day consistently far outweighs 3 hours revision on a subject inconsistently. So you want to be revising in small little chunks, and over time that is going to compound. So for example, if you have mocks right after the October half term, then you want to start planning by September and then revising by the start of October. So in order to plan efficiently, to plan properly for your mocks, there are two things that you need to do. One is preparation and the other is revision. And you need to do both of these well in order to put yourself in good standing for your mock exams. Now, this little and often approach means you're less likely burn out before your mock exams, let alone the final exam. So really important that you adopt that. So mocks matter, but so does your energy. Build gradually, stay consistent, and avoid burnout. So step one on how to prepare for top grades for your GCSE mocks is to start early and stay consistent. Now, in order to get the most out of this little and often approach in those 15 to 20 minutes chunks of revision, you need to make sure you are revising effectively. So what I've done is I've put down in the description below my guide 3 simple steps to get top grades in GCSE Maths and Science, and that will teach you my top 3 tips on how to study effectively. So you're going to want to go to the description section and grab the guide down below. Okay, now on to step 2 for how to prepare for top grades for your GCSE mocks. Now, the fantastic news is you do not need to revise the entire syllabus at all. You just need to focus on what is most likely going to come up. So how do you know what's most likely going to come up? Start by asking your school, asking your teacher. Now, your teachers might be quite vague about this. They might just say paper 1 or everything we've covered so far, which is not that helpful. And so that's why the second thing you need to do is you'll need to review the last few exam papers, so the last 3 to 4 years of exam papers. And when you have a quick look through those papers, you will start to identify trends. You will start to see the topics that come up over and over again each year. And you would also start to see the topics that have more weighing, that tends to be more of the 6-mark questions, for instance, a topic that carries the most marks. And that would then help you to determine what are the topics that you need to focus on. So knowing what to expect means you'll spend your revision time wisely, because you now know, because you'll spend time on what actually matters. So step 2 is to find out what will come up in your exams. Now, once you've found out what would come up in your exams, step 3 is now to identify your knowledge gaps. So now that you have a sense of what might come up in the exams, how do you fare in these topics? What are your knowledge gaps? So It's the best place to start here is really to identify your weaker subject. And I know that can be uncomfortable for many students because it's easy to just start with the subjects that you know or the subjects that you think you know, but you really need to focus on those weaker areas first, because that's how you would get yourself more marks. Because if you think about it, you already have the subject knowledge in other areas, right? Even if it's like 50% subject knowledge, you have the subject knowledge in these areas to help you to pick up marks. So what you want to do is you want to identify the area that you don't have the subject knowledge on, bring that area up to scratch, and then that will then be able to, you'll then at least be able to use that to attempt those questions and pick up more marks. So you are applying that 80-20 rule here, which is 20% of the topics will lead to 80% of marks. So essentially, you're trying to identify what are those 20% of topics you need to work on to help you to get those marks. And you can use your checklist or the contents page in your textbook to help you to do that. So filling in gaps gives more return than polishing strong areas, and it builds exam confidence fast. Okay, so now on to step 4, and step 4 is you need to create a study routine. This one is really, really super important when it comes to preparation. A study routine is massive. It's going to help you to do several things. It's going to help you to identify what are the topics you need to cover, how big are those topics, so how big is the content, when you need to revise those topics, how you need to revise them, and also how long it's going to take you to revise them. So you ideally want to be in a situation where you say something to yourself like, on Tuesday, 5 p.m., I'll be revising electrolysis for 20 minutes, and I will be drawing an electrolytic cell from memory and walking myself through that process, right? Can you see how there you've got a brief summary of a plan of what you're going to do, what you're going to revise, when you're going to revise it, how long it's going to take you to revise that, how long you've planned to revise it, and what exactly are you going to do to revise that specific content. If you have that before you go to revise, having that clear routine is really going to help you to plan ahead, to avoid procrastination, to avoid friction, and it's also going to help you to manage and balance your time. So planning is super, super key, and it's one of those things that students tend to ignore and don't take as seriously. Also, when it comes to planning, it's thoroughly important that you're not just planning to revise your content, you're also planning for yourself. So have your timetable or something that you use for organization where you give yourself breaks. Give yourself plenty of breaks so that you can have time for yourself. You can spend time with your friends. You can go on, fun trips with families as well. So having time for yourself really helps to ensure that you don't burn out. So remember that planning is planning for content, but also planning for yourself. So clear routine is essential to A, avoid procrastination, and B, to reduce that likelihood that you will burn out. And step number 5 when it comes to planning is to find topic-based exam questions. So what you now need to do once you've done all of those other things that I've talked about, because you now know the topics that you need to focus on, you need to start gathering past paper and practice exam questions on this. So that means that when it comes to your revision session, you're not wasting time, you're not procrastinating, you've already got those past papers to hand. So just go online and search for topic-based exam questions, because remember, you're focusing on the topics where you have weaker areas. So you can just search whatever the topic is, whatever your specification is, exam papers, and you'll find something online. The other thing you can do is use in your student textbooks, normally at the end of every spread, and also at the end of the topic, there are lots and lots of practice questions that you can use. Use that as well, because that would help you to check whether you understand what you have covered. So print or download these exam papers in advance to avoid wasting time. So putting all of this together, you should now be planned and ready to start revising in a manner where you're avoiding friction, you're avoiding procrastination, and you're avoiding distraction, and you're ready to just go straight into revision. So you're now planned, so you have no excuses. Okay, so once you've got your mock plan sorted, the next step is to focus on high impact revision. So watch the next video to learn 3 GCSE Maths topics to revise before Year 11. That can help make a big difference to your GCSE mock grades. All right, I hope this video has been helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.